Hey, so today I'm going to be doing a very, I guess, basic and in-depth tutorial on my take of suspension. For, um, for example, if you're coming here for seat-driven suspension, where you don't have to use the mech controller, this is not the video for you. This is something that I like, that I find simple and fun to mess with and work with. I think it's easy to work with as well. I'm also going to be going through some of the important things that I consider whenever I start building this kind of stuff. So the first thing we're going to consider is the surfaces of a block, and it changes how they interact with each other. For example, if uh, if you want to see the surfaces of a block, go to plastic, and the textures will change depending on what they are. And basically, there are three main textures. Well, I guess textures, I guess that can be considered like that, is what I use. First of all, the three that I use is wheeled, or weld. I use universal, and then smooth. Basically, how these work is universal will only attach to universal. It will not attach to smooth even if it's right against it. Weld will attach to universal and smooth. It'll attach to any surface, and it will stick to it, and it will not come off. Smooth, well, smooth against smooth will not stick to each other. They will just slide right off. So the very first thing, I'm gonna do this in parts, all in one video, but in different sections. So the first thing we're going to work on is the arms and I guess the body. Now the increments that I use is 1, 0.5, 0.25, 125, and then 0.0625. And why I use those is because they all work with one stud. They are all half of each other. So in the end, it all kind of works out, and it's also good for details. So first thing we're gonna do is we're going to build a simple body. So I normally use 125 or just 25.25. So we're gonna build the body, make it about 7 studs wide, and I guess 12 studs on length. Now another thing that I consider is that I gotta make sure everything's plastic. Okay. Another thing that I'm going to consider is the size. Now this isn't really important when it comes to just making something basic, but to the equivalence of the avatar in this game, one stud would be equal to 1 foot. And you see, so we got 1 stud, 2 studs, 3 studs, 4 studs, and about 5.5 studs in height. So approximately, these Robloxians would, I guess, be considerable at 5 feet. 5.5, almost 6 feet in length. And that's kind of an average-ish length, I guess, for how tall someone is. I don't do it based off of width because the portions are obviously quite off when it comes to how wide they are. Now, what you want to do is you want to build something like this. Now, it doesn't really matter what the sizes are until you really get into it. The first section that we need is the body itself. Where to do the color. This is what everything will sit on. The arms will sit on this side and this side, or the suspension itself. This is where you can put stuff on and whatnot. This will have steering, this will have suspension, easily tunable, and maybe another thing, or things that I like to do to make it better to work with. Oh yeah, I added some little suspension tests here, just to kind of show that it can do stuff. Not really important right now, though. So, we're also going to be doing groups. Now, right now, or whatever, what you want to do is, hang on. Okay, you want to go to manage groups, and here's how you're gonna get with something that looks like this. Everything's all true on this end and false on this end. I'll also go through how this works. So on the manage groups tool, we have group 3. This is what we've got selected, group 2, and then group 1. Group 1, you want to leave that alone. When you go to group 2, you want to put can collide with group 3 on false. And same with group 3 against group 2, but that's automatic. Can damage, I don't care what you do with that. Basically, if you make a block that's in group 3, and then you make a bumper that is in group 2, and you put it to true, if you were to drop that bumper onto that block, it would destroy that block, and I guess the bumper itself as well. But that's going to be important for the wheels. Now, this one necessarily isn't going to be a realistic representation, but just a fun one. So first things first, what we're going to do is we are going to make the base of the arm. Now I'm going to make the smallest and most compact version. So what you want to do is you want to make it 0.38, and then I guess double, let's see, if we're going to make it 0.38 and then 0.38, you'd want to make a block that is the size of them both, so 0.75. You'd want to work with this. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we got to make sure. The first thing we're going to do, before we do that, we're going to make the body universal. What this means is that any of the smooth parts will not attach to the body if, say, you were going to build something onto the body that is mechanical, that moves. The only thing you'd have to be aware of is what sides the weld sticks out of. Now we're going to make the arms. So the arms are going to be very simple. You make them as flat as you want, and then make sure you keep it at a minimum of 0.38 by 0.38. Because hinges, how they work is, if you were to have something like this surface right here attaching to another one, it would just either stick or fall off if you have it at 0.25. I've discovered that at 0.38 or more, hinges will actually work and they will actually attach. So then you can, we'll worry about the surfaces later, and we'll go into a few more tricks. So you add one on each side. These will be the parts that rotate. So we're going to add this static part to the body, and then, sorry about that, and then we're going to make the control arms. We're going to make them a nice purple, I guess, something that doesn't hurt the eyes. Now, sorry for the notifications and stuff. This is my first video. I'm just kind of winging it, not really paying attention to anything else. We want to make this block, we'll make it about 0.5 in width, just to go with how the wheel size will be and whatnot, and how things will work with each other. So once you got these, you'll have 4 points, and basically these are going to be where the arms attach, where they'll move. Now what you want to do is you want to build the arms. Very simple. You can make them however long you want. This scenario, I'll make them 1.5. Now, you do the same and you attach them to make sure they're centered to these. Actually, it doesn't have to be centered. You can put them here and here. Just always note that these will be what attaches these to the body and will allow it to swing. Now, once we do the same thing with all 4 arms, okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add the opposite side. So we're going to add the same joints. So we add 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright. And then basically just copy this. Alright. So here we've got an arm. Now, if we were to save, and we're going to unanchor, you're going to notice that it just kind of falls apart. Okay then. It's just gonna what? Okay, hang on. Alright, so it should. Yeah, it just kind of falls apart and junk everywhere. The body sticks together because these are universal. They stick to each other. So that's good. This just kind of falls apart. We're going to fix that. So we're just going to go to 1. Now, whenever I drag something out to work on it, always use the increment of 1 so it's easy to put back. So we're going to grab all of these little arms right here. These not arms, but little joints. We're going to pull them out. Now, for these to attach and swing on the body, we're going to use hinges. Voice crack, that's not fun. So we're going to go to classic, and we're going to use hinge. Now we're going to put a hinge on each one of the surfaces on the inside. They will be big, but I'll show you a cool trick that I do in just a moment. So we put a hinge on each of the inside surfaces. So these will attach to these red blocks. And now to get rid of the hinges, while keeping the functionality, because this big yellow part necessarily isn't the prettiest thing. So we're going to select it all, and we're going to, and for transparency, we're going to type NAN, NAN. So these will still swing and stuff, okay, but they will not show the hinges. Now, we're going to get these arms, we're going to drag them out, and we're going to weld each one of these ends. So weld, 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 weld. Same for the opposite side. Weld, 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 and weld. Now, welding those ends will allow these to attach to these. So each one of these arms will individually move up and down. Now, pretty much the only things we have to really do now is we have to make this universal, because it doesn't really matter here. Just as long as these are all universal, these will attach to each other. The arms are attached to these blocks by hinges, and these arms are attached to these little joints by welds. Now, for the collisions, for now, we're going to turn everything off. Okay, off. Because right now, that's not really important. So we're going to save. I'll add a little anchor just for the temporary to keep it up. Now, what should happen is this should swing. Right? Yeah, look at that. See, it swings. That means we're doing good so far. That means that the suspension will be able to move, up and down. So we're loading it again. Now, I'm going to... Alright. So after we do that, we are going to go right into... What should we do next? I guess the thing that will limit it so it doesn't just kind of drop through. We're going to add a new block, make it all smooth so you know what's going on. Now, yeah, I don't think we need to add this to a new color group. We're going to make this side weld and the opposite side weld, so it attaches both this arm and this arm. We're going to drag it in. You gotta make sure that it's connected properly. Okay. And then, sorry about that. And then once it's attached like that, you can shrink it some. And now we can see what was going on. We're just gonna put the transparency at 0.5, so you can see what's going on through it. And then just copy the arm, or this little panel, and put it underneath. Now we're going to turn the transparency for these, collusion for these on. And the final thing that we're going to need for it to stop it is a little thing that just kind of sticks out, to stop it. So we're going to grab this, drag it out, we're going to make it all smooth. Since this is a part of the body, we can color it the same, and we can make it all universal. Because it's not going to attach to anything in here, because all the surfaces are smooth, except for the ones that are, attaching to the others. Now, for this, we're going, basically, the closer it is, Where's my avatar? Okay, the closer this is to the top, the less so the closer to the top it is, the less travel it will have. And also, the longer it is, the less travel it will have. So for now, we're going to just, shrink it to about 0.25, and we're going to kind of center it. So we're going to 0.0625, which is half of 0.125, and we're going to drag it so about the center. Now, all we gotta do left is grab the two panels, and this part that sticks up, we're gonna turn the occlusion on. So if this arm goes down, this panel will press up against that, and this will stop it from going down more. So, a little anchor. If we save, and, we test, it stops. It stops it. See how that's pressing against that? And, if we were to make it shorter, and we were going to test it, see it goes down a lot more. But if you can't tell, it's really close to slipping off. So, I guess for this case, just make sure they go against the sides, like this and like this, since all the occlusions are off but these three. You could turn the occlusions on for this part, because it doesn't really matter. It's just so our guy can bump into it and stuff, so he can move it around. Now, there's something you can also, if this isn't enough adjustment room, you could just make this part taller, these like that, by just dragging these up and extending the height of these blocks. But the thing to consider is if you're going to want smaller wheels, the taller this is, the more space it's going to take up when it's against the wheel. So you might want to keep it small and just work with this little winky-dink part. Make it 0.25 and make it that small. Now, if we save it on an anchor, it should be pretty good. Won't you look at that? And yes, it can go up and down. It's kind of hard to see with but if we remove it up, you can see it bobbles up and down. And right now, it can probably break because we haven't done anything else for it yet. So we can load it again. Well, any extreme forces on it right now will break it, but we can make it tougher later. So now that we've got that, I guess the best thing we can, the only thing we really have left to do right now is just to, oh, shut up, phone. And the dogs are going ballistic. That's just great. Anyways, we're going to select this part. We're going to drag it out. You know what? Hang on. Hang on. Alright, sorry about that. Alright, so we're gonna get this. Okay, we're gonna drag it out. We're going to delete it. Group delete it. We're going to load it. And then we're going to undo the delete. And now we'll have this little arm boy. We're gonna select move it. And basically you're just gonna rotate it till this universal brick is on this side. You're gonna drag it on, okay, and then drag it back to the normal place. Now, if we're correct, look at that, they both go down. You've got the basic arms. I swear to God. Anyways, once again, I am sorry about that. Sorry about that. So, now that it's working, we're going to load it in, and we're going to do the same trick, except we're going to select all this, we're going to slide it back, and we're going to delete it. We are going to load it. I'm going to undo the delete. get rid of that part, I guess, and just kind of easily drag it back on. There. Now we got 4 arms that work. Now, basically all we need to do now is add a hinge to this side. Okay. We're going to get a wheel. Okay, remember, make sure all of it's smooth. And we're going to drag it on. What I like to do is I like to make it as small as this. Okay. 0.5 by 0.5. And then we expand it. I'll put it to 3 by 3 for about the wheel size. And keep the width 1. Because why not? And we're going to add a hinge to this. And make sure that the wheels are all smooth, because we're going to have the hinge grabbing the wheel instead of the wheel grabbing onto the car itself. That does look a little bit too long, so we're gonna resize it about 3.5 studs. Why not? And then the same goes here. We get hinges. My bad. We're going to get the wheel, and we're just going to do the same method to ensure that everything is nice and centered. So we shrink it by both ends, and then 3 by 3, copy it, and drag it over. Now, if we save video stuff, save, and on anchor, look at that, the wheels work. Now it will kind of lag and glitch out and bounce at first, but that problem, of course, will be solved later because we need to tune and stuff. Look at that, the car rolls, and the wheels are off. The wheels are off centered. So now, if we save on anchor, there should be, oh, look at them dance. Well, that's because they're super light, and the game does not like heavy and light stuff interacting with more heavier stuff because of the wheels. So it rolls, it doesn't wobble, because I accidentally made the wheel size, the wheels offset it. So now it rolls, and it's nice and pretty and good. Now, we've got the basic, the roll and the suspension travel. Now what we're going to add is we are going to add steering. Now, this can get a little bit complicated, but hang in there. We can do this. We're going to drag the wheels out, okay, and we're going to select these. Now, these are what the arms hang on to. These need to be still. So how are we going to add a moving part inside of them while, having the wheels turn and having a method of having them turn? Well, it's simple. We're going to make these all smooth again. We're going to remove the hinges from them, okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to copy it, not that, this. We're going to shrink it down on top of it. That's not it. Now, once that's shrunken down, we're going to make these, weld, okay. And now, these will attach to these little parts up here. It will attach to these tiny parts. And now what we're going to do is we're going to copy this, put it right here. We're going to make it all smooth. But this time, you're going to add the hinge right here. We're going to add the hinge right here and a hinge up there. So this will attach to this block. We're going to turn the collisions of this off, and we're going to go to the really precise one, 0.0625, and we're going to shrink it by that much. So you see, the hinges will still work because of its width. The width will work. Now what's going to happen is, because if we were to keep it the same size as this, these the hinges on these would not only grab onto this, but it would grab onto this as well. And we don't want that because we want this part to turn. So now that we've got that, we copy it on both sides. We're going to drag it over here, 125, 125. And we're going to make them all nice and snug in here. Center it, put them inside here. So this part, the part that we just dragged in, will be able to turn freely and will not attach to those. So once we drag that in, okay. Now we're going to separate them once more, and simply we're going to nan these so the hinges don't show, so nan. And now we're going to add a universal type of thing. We're going to stick it here and here. On the ones that turn, keep in mind, because we want something to attach to those. So we're actually, you know what? We're going to color the parts that attach to the wheels. Sorry about the bed squeaking. Me doggos are on it. That did not work out. Okay. So the parts attached to the wheels themselves, and just the steering mechanism overall will be blue. Now we're going to copy this, make it all smooth, and we're going to add a welded surface right here. Just like that. Now we drag it back on, and we're going to make it really thin. Okay. Now it is kind of hard to see, so we might do a different color. Let's do this. There we go, much better. Now this will be attached to this. But oh wait, did I do that wrong? Wait, I did universal, right? Smooth. It has to be universal, so it doesn't attach to this smooth surface. Okay, that should be good now. We're going to do the same for both of these. Gotta make sure they're aligned. Okay. Now you are safe to drag these back inside of here. And now to the part that will actually allow us to control how the wheels work. So we're going to make sure that these are centered, so let's try 1.5 on both ends. 1.5, there we go. We can keep it that size for now. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get these. Well, you know, the aim parts, the strafe, I can't talk. Okay, the strafe ones, I think is what they're called. Okay, so that's all going to be smooth. Okay, and now one thing that I forgot to consider was the width of the part in the center. So real quick, I'm going to grab all of this, including the arm. I'm going to stretch it out by 0.5. We're going to grab all this by the arm, stretch it out by 0.5. Okay. We're going to widen it some. Okay, we're going to do the same for this end. We're going to grab it, stretch it over. Now, we're not doing much with the back wheels because we don't have to add a steering mechanism, so they're just kind of done. All we need to do is add thrusters and stuff, and then... Now, that's probably much, much better when it comes to adding the steering. So we're going to make it... let's try extending them both by 0.5. Okay, we're going to go back. We're going to go, yeah, 125. Now, you're going to get this, excuse me, and we're going to center it. We're going to center it in between these little arms. And we're going to make it more cubey-like. No. And then we're going to copy it, get the weld tool, and we're going to put it on both of these, on one side on each of them, So this one right here will attach to this block, but not attach to this one, and then this will attach to this one, but not this one. And the reason why I had you widen this is so this didn't stick to here or here, because then it would just kind of lock up the steering. Importantly, we're going to make this all with collisions off, and we're going to drag that down. Oh, whoa, okay, before we put them inside of each other, we want to consider the controller. Now, I will use R for steering, like I have been. So R, normal, steering, confirm, bind. Select that, confirm. Now control, you should be able to, yeah, there we go. Drag that back on. Drag these back down. Make sure this little part sticking up is above. And then, remember how we used one? And we could do that. We could drag them back out. Now, I forgot to widen the wheels as well, so just 0.5. And there we go. Now, if we get this, let me save. If we enter battle mode, they do bobble a bit, and I can show you how to fix that. But if we click and we move our mouse, they will turn. That's pretty important. Now, if you're driving around, you can use the mouse cursor to make the wheels turn. Now this is where we need to put into account another thing. By the way, there is one thing about this that you guys may not like, is if you end up like accidentally pulling your cursor behind you, it's going to like pull your wheels and it might break something, because it's going to make them want to it's going to make the steering parts want to go backwards. So you want to try to keep your mouse clicked and in front of your car. Now, this is where the group thing comes into play. We want to make it so the groups can collide with the floor and can collide with pretty much anything else except for the stuff on the body. Now, in order to do that, remember how we had our group set up? How group 2 cannot touch group 3, and group 3 cannot collide with group 2. I don't know why I said touch. We're going to go to assign groups. We're going to select group 3. We're going to hold control. We're going to drag it across the whole thing, and we're going to click assign group to selections. Then we're going to go to group 2, hold control, click each wheel, hold control, there we go, and assign. So if we go to view groups, you'll see that the red wheel, the wheels are part of the red group, and everything else is a part of the green group. Now what this will do is if we save, basically it's saying that the parts in the red group cannot collide with the parts in the green group. So for example, if we were to turn them too much, oh wait, we have to, oh, here's another thing y'all want to keep in mind. You want to reload for the groups to apply, but once you load it again, it'll always apply. Now you're going to notice how the wheels can kind of go willy-nilly and they won't collide with anything. That's basically, it's pretty much an important thing that we need to consider. Now the car turns, it can roll, it can go, the suspension can go up and down. Now what we're going to do is, well, we'll load this car. Now what we're going to do, there we go, is, let's see, what are we gonna do? Alright. We're gonna make everything material-wise, we're just gonna make it metal. Because if you guys did not know, metal kind of makes the parts stronger in a way. It messes with their collisions. They're like collision boxes, and how many times it updates. It's a very, very strange thing, but it just works. Materials do have weight, so this is going to be pretty darn heavy, but that's kind of a good thing for considering what we're going for. Once we make it all metal, right, it should, and keyword should, kind of fix the bouncing. If not, okay, it kind of fixes the bouncing, but we've got one last thing to consider. Now, we're gonna make things a bit smoother. Is instead of using hinges, we're going to use motors. Now, these are kind of weird. Motors, when you apply them using the surface tool, cannot turn. They aren't powered by anything, but they have a bit more resistance than hinges. It's a bit harder to turn something on a motor, a static motor. So, if we go here, and we see how these sides are with these, if we make these sides motor sides, and I'm only using 2 parts because the more, you could pretty much do this with all of these, but the more motors that you use, the more hinges that you replace with motors, the kind of stiffer, and not stiffer, but the more resistance it's going to hold before, it turns. So now it shouldn't really bounce. And you see, it's not nearly as bad as it was before, but it's a lot better now. So we can also just put here, put the transparency to 0. You can also see what you did, what you changed. For this, we're going to change all of the inner ones, all the hinges to the joints closest to the body. So drag that out. And just like the other ones, we're going to get motors, or the motor, and we're just going to replace the hinges with motors. So motor, 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 and motor. Now we can select them all, drag them back into place, select everything, put transparency to nan. We're going to save. And now if we unanchor, it shouldn't bounce as much. Look at that. A lot smoother, much better. Now we're going to make the suspension actually pop up. 0.125, 0.125. Now we're going to use thrusters. So basically, the thruster goes away from the side the hinge goes. So if the thruster were like right here, it's going to go this way. Or if I were to turn it this way, it's going to go that way. Or, that way, depending on how the hinges. Now we're going to want the wheels to be pushing down, but then the body pushing up to act as kind of that springish force. But we also want them to cancel each other out so the car doesn't do anything wonky. So what we're going to do is we're going to have, we'll change the properties later. We have 2 thrusters basically for the body that go up, not down. Up. So 2 thrusters on the body that go up. And then 4 thrusters for the wheels that go down. We're going to change the sizes. I should have changed the size originally, but it's the same thing. I'm going to change them to 0.25. Up. Now, what I suggest you do is you make the you put one for the wheel and one for the body. Put their collision transparency to nan, and then you just copy the body one to the other side of the body, and then the wheel one to the wheels. And now I guess we can go at this point, make them all pretty, position them better. So we put one here. Okay. Put it down. We copy the wheel one to the wheel one. And then we copy the wheel one and then the wheel one. Going to drag them down, pull them across, so they're sticking there. And now, for the body ones, I guess we'll make the body ones bigger because why not? So we'll make them Is that 1.125? Yeah, sure. Body one to the body one. Now, oh, yeah, get rid of that one. Now you have to make sure that these two are going up and these four on the wheels are going down. And the final thing we need to do is go to global, select all of these, drag them out. Okay, make sure they're all smooth. Well, yeah, make sure they're all smooth now. You already know which direction they're facing, so you don't need that guidance hinge, I guess is what you call it. So, oops, sorry, didn't mean to do that. So now that it's all smooth, we're going to go to wheel or weld. We're going to do to the bottoms of these so they stick to the car, or they stick to the parts that they need to stick to without, you know, anything else sticking onto them. And now we've got the thrusters. The final thing we need to do is to change how powerful they are. This bit's kind of important because we always, you know what? By the way, I suggest that you keep it centered. Well, this thruster centered with these, you know, how they kind of align. Now, as you see, since this is... Ooh. Okay. So we're going to notice that there are these two bars here, okay, and we don't want them to stick, the thruster to stick to them since the bottom is universal, or weld. So we could just make all on these thrusters, we can make them all universal, because these are attached to the body, and the body is universal. They will not attach to anything else, though, even if something is inside of it, or whatever, anything else, just as long as there isn't a welded or universal surface attached to it. You can turn the collision for all these off. I'm gonna make sure they're off. We're going to make everything metal again. We're going to make everything metal. Okay. Now for the annoying part. The tuning of the suspension. Not tuning. We won't get into actual fine tuning until later. But we always want these to be double what both of these are. So these two add up into this. So if we're going to make this 8,000, and then this one 8,000, we want the wheel ones to be the same. Or, okay, so these two should always be the same. These two should always be the same to each other. These for each other, and then the center one should always be double what these are, or not double, but these two should add up into the power in this one, and then these two should add up into the power of this one. So if we made these two edge ones 8,000, we're going to make this one 16,000, because, you know, 8,000 plus 8,000 is 16,000. We're going to do the same for the back, because there's nothing heavier on the back than on the front. So 8,000, 8,000, and then 16,000. Okay. Now, we're going to set them to keybind. Guess for this I'll use U. Oh, no. I'm going to remove R. New setting. We're going to remove R. We're going to add U, normal, and suspension. Confirm keybind. Going to add that, add that, add that, add that, and then add this, confirm, control. So now, suspension, and then steering. We're going to save video stuff. By the way, don't mind my brother freaking out in the background. He's autistic and tends to get upset a lot. We unanchor. Oh, don't mind the magnet sticking noise. That, and it seems we have ran into a problem with the steering. See, this is the problem that I told you to avoid, or, you know, that I accidentally did, is that stuck to the setup itself. So to fix that, we're simply going to move these up some. Okay, we're gonna move these up. Now, just remember that these parts are universal, so these will still stick to those parts. or these blocks right here, this will stick to these because these are universal and this is universal. We're into battle mode, and look at that. The steering works, and the suspension, boink, boink, boink. Look at that, it works. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make it drive. Now, what I do to make it drive is kind of simple. Okay, thanks, Mr. Game, because I needed that right now, totally. We're going to add, now, these thrusters, I don't really care what you do with them. These are just the thrusters that can make it go forward and backwards, so we'll just add that. And then we'll add this. Alright. And, oh my god. So we're going to go to edit. I'm going to assign this. God damn it. Stop that. We're going to do T for this one. Hold opposite. And then this is going to be forward. Alright. And then for this one, we're going to use G. Hold opposite. And then backward. Yeah, I know, I don't care about how nice and pretty and everything, you know. So, now, if you hold T, this will push forward, and if you hold G, this will push backward, but only if we press the keys. Only when we press it will they turn on. Okay. We're going to save video stuff. Yeah, save. Now, if we unanchor, yes. Oh, that. Oh, sorry, that's my bad. I forgot to make these universal so they attach to the body. Now, if we, save and unanchor, it should work now. Alright, there you go, they're attached. So we got steering, we got suspension, we got forward. Whoa! I forgot to tune it. They're super quick, so just... Oh my god. Okay, hang on. I forgot to adjust the power of the thrusters. We're gonna make it 10,000. 10,000. I guess make everything metal again because this is the base plate or the base of the body. We're gonna make everything metal. We're gonna do kind of group brief. Actually, no, we don't need to do that. But basically, if you're just using these parts or the parts from the insert tool, when you're done, when you're done and you've added new parts that will be a part of group 1, you just want to select everything, make it group 3, and once again select the wheels and make it group 2. Hey, don't you dare deselect on me. I'm gonna make them all group 2 just so the wheels don't attach to whatever you're working with. Now, I'm going to just toss on a seat real quick. So, oh, that's my bad. I need a drive. I'm just going to add a driver's seat. Okay. We got to center it because why not? Stretch it. Both. Make it like 2 in width and just basically 0.5. We're going to make it all universal, so it attaches to the body, and I guess I'll just assign this to group 3. Keep in mind that you want everything on your car to be the green group, and then just the wheels, the red group. The wheels and whatever's attached to the wheels, like say if you're adding rims or something, which I guess I could add at some point. So now, you should have a nice little driving car. So we got suspension, we got steering, and we got forward and backwards. Okay, so now we can control our car. And there are a few things that I need to change afterwards that I'll show you. So you can go over the bumps, right? And they do suspension things. Look at that. Ain't that just oh so pretty and beautiful. Should be able to go over these. And, over this hill. I don't know why I added this hill thing. Now, the reason why it's so slippery in its movement right now is, I'll show you. It goes up and boink, boink, boink. Okay. Now, the thing that we need to consider, hurry up and load, is the friction of the wheels. Now, I don't care what you do with the friction of the wheels. I just like to max it out. The UI on the wheels is broken, so it'll always say 0.3, but I think there's like a max of like 2.5 or something. But if you put it just a really high number, it'll put it down to 2.5. But it'll always say 0.3 no matter what value you put in. And the wheels, also keep in mind that the wheels are the only part that can have their friction changed. If you were to go to like a block, not a block, where's the hollow, no, not a hollow cylinder, just a normal cylinder. If you're going to a normal cylinder, you can't configure it, only the wheels. Elasticity, I don't know what the elasticity does, but so far I've concluded that it doesn't do anything, so you can just leave that be. So now if we save and test, the car should be able to turn and stuff, no problem. You can be all speedy about it. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, look at that. So much nicer. It can go over. Da 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 da. Look at that. Oh, so nice. Oh, so nice. But there is something. There is already a problem. It's a bit bouncy and a bit jittery. If it's a bit jerky, if you're willing to say. And so I'm going to fix that as well, because it's not that hard to. And I think after that point, after a few tips that I'll give you, the suspension will well be done. So we load. Yes, yes, yes. We're going to add a gyroscope. A little gyroscope that goes onto the bottom of the car, which basically will kind of slow down the body's ability to turn, or roll, like forward and backwards and left and right, just to the point that it makes the body feel like it has weight. To make it feel like an actual car, to make it less jittery and jerky, to make it feel heavier than what it really is. So, oh yeah, I guess I'll go over this right now. You can make the thrusters stronger for the more weight that you add onto it, okay? So if you were to add, like, let's say just weight onto this back half, you would be able to like change this to like thrust maybe 12,000 here and here, and then 24,000 on the center one, okay? And you should be good. That's all you really got to do. Now we are going to add a little gyroscope. Now for this, what we're going to do is we're going to make sure it's all smooth. We're going to attach the motor right back where it was, okay? Because this is the way the part was made. It's only the surface that'll attach. If you were to like attach a motor here and here, it wouldn't spin them. I've kind of done that testing not too long ago. But now we're going to center it by making it thick, mega thick, okay? And then we're going to shrink it back down to size, so it's, using the both things, so it's centered. Now, we're going to make this nan. Keep a mental note that the motor is on this side, facing down. That's what we want. I think my brother is shouting Dio in the background. That's just great. That's a good JoJo reference. Okay, anyways, we're going to copy the motor, because basically, if we have one of our weights spinning like this, it's going to make the body want to turn like that. So if you were to like jump or something, it's going to start rotating the body. So you want this to spin the opposite way to counteract the way this wants to make it spin, but it'll still have that gyroscopic effect. Now we're going to use the seat as the center, or the reference to what the center of the car would be. So if we were to drag these, this is what would be going on under the car. We could like drag these to about here. And then if we were to, like, you know, drag everything back to the center, see, these would be centered, or, you know, together in the center, and that's actually what we want. So now that we go to 1.25, okay. Now remember how we're going to put the universal side on the tops of these, because these will be sticking to the body. Remember, the motors are on the bottom. Now we're going to get a new part, all smooth, okay, and we don't really have to do anything to these yet. We're going to attach them to the motor. Remember, you have to keep the motor, like this part right here, you have to keep this 0.038, is it 0.038? Yeah, no, not 0.03, 0.38 or wider, or else it's not going to work. We can go to as thin as we want, though, so that's pretty cool. We're going to make them, I guess, 3 studs. The lengthier these are, the stronger the gyroscopic effect is. There are 3 things that affect how strong it is, and those can be tuned. The speed at which they spin, how long these are, and finally, how heavy the things on the ends are. Now, we are going to get these little wonderful boys. They're the dead weights. They're called dead weights. I think they're kind of not so memorable, but I think somewhere I remember, yeah, dead weight can be found. Okay, remember to make it all smooth. Now, the bigger the dead weight, it's gonna be much heavier. So if I were you, I would advise sticking to 1 by 1 by 0.5 or smaller. But we're going to add dead weights on each end. That's not how I wanted to do that, but okay. On all 4 ends. Drag these over. We're going to drag these away for a moment. We're going to weld these rods. That's still up. We're going to weld rods to the weights. And we're going to do the conclusions of all this. Just turn it off. Okay, turn it off. Now, I've noticed that the max speed that these can spin in was something like this before it freaking out is 15. So set it to the speed of torque of 15. Trust me, it is plenty fast. We're gonna hook it up to a controller because why not? Control. We're gonna edit. We'll go B, normal, and spin. Spin. There. I don't know. Okay. Spin. There you go. Confirm. So now they should both turn on and off. Now, this is the kind of more tedious part because we're done with the car. Okay, this is all done. The final thing you do is you make everything metal. Okay. Now, there is a few things that I'll go over here shortly. So we've got the weights that create the gyroscopic effect. We've got the wheels with the suspension, the steering. Now, these might be too heavy right now. So if I were to unanchor, oh shoot. Okay, don't mind that. That doesn't normally happen. I think it only happens like once or twice. Or I don't know. I don't know what I mean by once or twice. But oh hey, won't you look at that? They are too heavy for the wheels. It's trying, but and it's not going anywhere. So if we load it, now to whatever you have, there it's kind of a tuning. It's gotta kind of have that fine point between how strong the suspension is and how heavy these are, because if the suspension is too strong, it might break it and cause it to go down and just not desirable results. Okay, but if these aren't heavy enough, then you're not going to have that desired effect. But I'm pretty sure you'll be plenty of good, and you'll still experience that effect from like maybe the weight of 40 or below. But I'm going to change these all down to 70, and we should be good to go when it comes to how strong it is. So save, video save. Now, it shouldn't be too heavy for the suspension. It's too heavy. It's way too heavy for the suspension. Alright, hold on. Oh, yes. When you you know how it spun when it spawned in? Yeah, that's because they're both spinning in the same direction. We want to make this one not clockwise, so they spin. So this one spins this way, and then this one spins that way, and they cancel each other out when it comes to turning the car. Okay, let's make these all to 50. Alright. 50, 50, 50, 50. No, this is not FNAF. Alright, save. I mean, now we should be, like, good to go. Just a bit too heavy. But it should be, yeah, look at that. The body doesn't tilt as quickly, and that's exactly what I want. Now, we probably want to make this a bit stronger, so let's make this 20,000, and these 10,000, this one 10,000. Kind of same applies to the front, because there's not any extra weight, or the weight on the both front and back are the same, so we keep the strength the same. Okay, 20,000, 10,000. Alright. Now, let's see if it's strong enough. Ooh. It's strong. Number one, it's strong enough. Number two, these don't change anything. Now, if we were to go over some... Oh, it's still slightly not strong enough. Now there is a little extra weight on the front from the steering system. So let's make this like let's go 22,000 on both of these. And then 11,000. That's 11,000. 11,000. Now I understand if this part of the video is boring, but it's kind of necessary. Oh. Tuning is one of the most important things you can do in this, because tuning is, you know, how it gives you that desirable results. Look at that. It stays up, okay? It has the gyroscope stuff working. It drives, it steers, and now, see how smooth it, yeah, look at how smooth. So smooth. Yes, good boy smooth. Look at that. And you can see that the body is not rocking as much, but it's still moving, okay? It will still be able to do ramps and stuff. Let's take it out into here. Oh man, it's dark. We take it out into here. Also, I'm using this because I find it to be quite beautiful. Take it out to drive. There's body rock. I think it's a pretty realistic body rock. You can make the suspension stronger, but now look at how smooth it is. Just look at this. It's so good. It's not jittery. It's not sudden. It's sharp, and it works like, well, the real life suspension. I'm pretty sure these can take quite a beating, but for example, if you're to do jump, you landed it stiff, or not stiffly, hard, it would be just fine. You can make the thrusters for the driving powerful. Because the heavier the vehicle is, the heavier the vehicle, the harder it'll be to, you know, drive around. You can go up ramps. You know, look at that, it's very smooth. But yeah, the steering does seem kind of weird if it's like doing abnormal use. Like you can turn like this. You shouldn't be able to turn like this. But it's kind of a sacrifice for having something that's super simple. The steering, the amount of parts needed to change it from just normal these wheels to the steering is a total of 6 parts. Just 6 parts. And boom, you've got steering. It's reliable. It works well. Okay? And now, pretty much everything's done, but there's one last thing to consider. Whenever you're building onto your car, okay, use universal because everything body-wise should be universal. So all smooth, we want it to be universal, okay? And whenever you add everything onto the body, you want to use a light material so it doesn't affect what you've already got set up too much. You're going to add these, I don't know, just something really simple, really dorky. You know, add whatever you want. If you add a lot of stuff, or like really thick and bulky stuff, you'd probably want to have to make the suspension heavier. If you're to do, I guess something like that, why, why not? Make sure they're a light material, whether it be, like wood. Oh yeah, by the way, wood is the lightest material. Wood and wood planks are the exact same weight. The heaviest is corroded metal, diamond plate, and just normal metal. You know, they have their reasonable weights. We're going to make everything smooth plastic. Yes, plastic is heavier than wood, by the way, in this. So if we were to save and test it right now, look at that. Everything behaves normally, despite the fact that we've actually got stuff on our car. And everything behaves like it should. Nilly-dilly, all dandy. But yeah, that's it. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching my video. Sorry if this video may have been strange or weird, because this is actually the first real video that I made that isn't just some crappy recording on Roblox. If you have any suggestions or basically if anything mechanical that you want me to probably make a tutorial on, just post them down in the comments below. Thanks for taking time to listen to me rant about making stuff on a game. Bye, guys!